Every moment Michelle and Martin Roberts have with their 3-year-old son Sam is precious. At the age of 2, he was diagnosed with a rare genetic illness, Niemann-Pick disease. His tiny body is unable to process cholesterol, which attacks his brain and lungs. There are only 11 known cases in Australia, and there is no cure.
The ride's in aid of the Sam Roberts Family Fund, which is part of the Women's and Children's Hospital Foundation. And what the charity does is it raises funds to finance projects for palliative care in South Australia for kids. More than anything, Sam was a role model for the people around him, for his family and friends of the family as well.
Sam is my son, and he is our middle child. So we have Lucy and then Sam and Charlie. As a family, created the Sam Roberts Family Fund as a means of remembering Sam. So the main aims of the Sam Roberts Fund is to support the palliative care, the paediatric palliative care of the Women's and Children's Hospital.
Yeah, this is the second cycle for Sam Ride, and it's been 2 years since our last cycle for Sam Ride. It's 1,100 kilometres, starting in Wilpena Pound, down through the Barossa Valley and onwards down to Victor Harbour, 2 days on Kangaroo Island, back up the Fleurieu to Adelaide, so 1,100 k's. But I know that the size of the group and the energy of the group will get us through. I know we'll make it. We're going to have some challenges with the wind and the weather, but I know we'll make it.
1, 2, 3, cycle for Sam!
Marty, you've taken us to this place. What is significant about this place here?
This is Encounter Bay at Victor Harbour, and what is significant about this is, and this particular spot is, we have great memories of Sam being here with us, and not too far from here, just taking him in the water paddling. He loved water, and he just used to sit in the shallows of Encounter Bay and just splash and smile, and you know, he was a complete peace and joy being here at Victor Harbour. Michelle has a medical background, and in her previous job as an occupational therapist, she used to deal with kids who were developmentally delayed. So Michelle was on the ball there that something was amiss with Sam. So when we got the news, it wasn't something that we debated. It was just something that we decided we've got to go with it, and we've got to deal with it in the way that we can. But we had to deal with it in a way that we could also care for Lucy and Charlie as well, and make the experience positive for them. He was having lots of admissions just for various things like X-rays, and he had sleep studies, and you know, he was a very investigated little boy there for a long time, because he had all the doctors baffled. They didn't know what was going on in his life, and so he had lots of different tests.
Especially when they had lots of different diagnoses early. It looked like it was picking up again, and then it sort of backtracked a little bit more, and then they do some more tests and they thought they diagnosed it again, and then eventually they found out it was Niemann-Pick Type C, and the diagnosis wasn't great from there.
From the moment a family receives this kind of diagnosis, there's this extraordinary sense of loss immediately because they've lost their plans for the future, they've lost their innocence.
The turning point was finding out that he had a terminal illness, number one, but then we were given a time frame of he'd pass away before he turned 5. Michelle and I made a decision that one of us would be in the hospital room at all times, so he'd never be alone. And for the next 6 months, he had a 24-hour vigil of myself or Michelle or other family members or friends who would sit in with Sam. So his room was never empty. He always had something with him.
What I recall of Sam Roberts, very cheeky, controlled the joint, big eyes. He controlled everything, like everything just rotated around this little boy.
I guess Sam's room and Sam's family room at the Women's and Children's was certainly a central role, I guess, between the two families as well, between the Roberts family and the Ward family, because somebody was always there and people always slept the night there. And I remember one of the last times when I was in there when Sam was, I guess, still responsive, and I cherished that memory of him before, I guess, his health diminished.
I think he definitely felt comfortable. I think he definitely felt at peace. You know, Sam got to a point where he couldn't communicate anymore, but I think, you know, anytime anyone visited him and they held his hand or stroked his arm or, you know, stroked his hair, you know, you could just see that he just was in comfort, he was in peace. And I think the constant family and friends contact, staying in that room with him made a huge difference to him. On April 18th, we got a call from the hospital just to say, look, they thought that Sam was going to a bit of respiratory distress. And Michelle and I went in and we stayed the night. And at about 5:30 in the morning, his breathing just started to slow and he just passed away in our arms. Basically, it was just the most amazing experience to have your child just suddenly stop breathing and go away peacefully. It was a really beautiful way to end in our arms.
I've never encountered another child like Sam in my whole nursing career, and I mean that in all honesty. He just had a presence about him, and you just felt, you'd walk into the room, there'd be just mayhem on the ward, and you'd walk into Sam's room and there was this peace, and he just exuded this calm about him, you know, and this strength. And it didn't matter how bad things were in your own life, you'd go, or things you'd seen on the ward, you know. Sometimes I used to find that it was all a bit much, and I'd go into Sam's room and sort of talk to him, and there was that strength about him that made you think, gosh, you know, look at him. And so I just found him so inspiring.
All the families that I've looked at, all the parents, all of them, going through the death of a child is a completely life-changing, it's a person-changing event, and you don't get to be the same person again. If such an awful thing can happen to you, if such an unthinkable thing can happen to you, that you bury your own child, the only way that you can move forward is to attach some sort of positive meaning.
One of my very good friends, Mark Reed, he and I had talked about for a long time that we should get into cycling, and another one of my mates through hockey, Richard Fuller, he had spoke to me, you know, that he cycles in the hills every weekend and I should join him. And while Sam was sick, he dropped around a bike, and I think he knew the benefits to me of cycling and how it would help me through a difficult time. And, you know, it was a real saving grace, you know, looking back, because, you know, it was such a stressful, intense time that you need to have time out.
I took my old bike down to him at one stage, and I think that was his starting point for cycling. He spent some time riding my bike, which was equal to the task, but I think it really gave him some insight into what cycling can add.
So what I'd do every Sunday morning for a good 12, 18 months was we'd get on our bikes at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning and we'd climb a summit out just close to our house called Norton Summit. And it's quite a difficult climb. It takes about 30 minutes to climb itself, but it takes you to a point where you look over Adelaide and look over the Children's Hospital, you can see the Children's Hospital, and it was an opportunity, for me, as I'd be climbing up, and in a lot of pain, gasping for air. I'd think about Sam in the hospital, and look, Sam gave me a lot of inspiration to continue with cycling and to keep persevering with pain.
Got him out of the hospital situation, got him to just get away with it, get away from it for a while. Bit of fitness, you always feel better after exercise. It was a new challenge, something to distract him for a little while. We got better and better, I suppose, and it gave him a goal to focus on.
For a good 12, 18 months, I was always behind Mark Reid. He was always in front of me. I could never catch him. And sometimes he'd get 30 or 40 metres in front of me climbing up this hill. But that was an opportunity where I could have a moment. I could have a moment, talking to myself about Sam, having a tear. And I did. I actually did, have a few tears climbing up the hill, not because of the pain, but thinking about what my family and I was going through.
They like to express things more physically. So I think that's why cycling was so good for Marty, was that he had an opportunity to physically get some of his grief out. But also whilst he was on the bike, he had that friendship and that support as well.
When I was on the bike and Mark Reid was churning up the hill in front of me, that was my moment. It was just me and the world and nature, thinking about Sam and getting through it.
I found that creativity was a wonderful way as well. And I suddenly found when Sam was in hospital that it was just a wonderful... I actually felt just the urge to draw, to write, to take photos, to paint. And I'd never really... I've always been a bit creative, but I think this creativity was just a wonderful means to be able to explore your grief and loss. And I think for Lucy and Charlie it was as well. So we would just get out the paints and we would just paint away, and as we were painting, it's very cathartic, it's very relaxing. You're exploring how you're feeling, and you can talk about things that are very hard to express. We had a journal for Sam as well, and in the journal, we called it Sam's Visitors Books. And in his visitors' books, the family would write messages to Sam. And I think it was just a wonderful means that people could write things, that they had difficulty verbally saying things to Sam. And sometimes it's very hard to verbally express how you're feeling. It was just wonderful the way that a lot of the family and friends and nurses as well, embraced his visitors' book. And it was just a wonderful means of people to be able to express what was going on and how they were feeling about Sam and how they were feeling. And I think for Lucy and Charlie that was really wonderful as well.
That was one of the hardest things we had to do, was tell Lucy, who was 4 at the time, that her brother was going to die. And that's something, it's one of the hardest things you can do as a parent, is to tell your other children that, one of their brothers or sisters is very sick. But one thing that she did do, that Lucy did do, was she saw Sam gradually deteriorate, and that was really hard on her, to see Sam going from a happy kid that that she adored and played with, to a kid that she could no longer play with because he couldn't do anything for himself anymore.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks after Sam passing, there was a group of 5 or 6 of us that had the idea that we should ride to Mount Lofty early one morning, aiming to get there for a sunrise in memory of Sam.
By this stage, I'd had a couple of years of cycling under my belt, so I was a lot fitter. I could make it up Mount Lofty. And so at dawn, a week after Sam died, there was a group of about 8 of us, and it was beautiful.
I remember that being a very emotional ride. Moose was pretty fit to ride, but emotionally he was at the end of a very long, difficult period of his life, and he got to the Eagle on the Hill, and it was pretty close to a collapsing time. I think it was one of those moments that I was very happy to be alongside. And following that ride, we congregated down in a coffee shop at Norwood. We were joined down there by the families of the riders who were there that morning, and Dutchie Holland was the instigator. I think he threw out, what about from Melbourne to Adelaide? And the idea for Cycle for Sam 1 was born.
We kind of thought about it for a little while and we said, yeah, let's do this.
We thought, yeah, that sounds great, you know, not knowing what we'd be in for. And then 7 months later, Jamie and myself and Richard Fuller, we met at the Maylands Hotel and we said, okay, let's get this baby happening. We decided the first Cycle for Sam should be from Torquay in Victoria, following the coastline, you know, through the Otway Ranges, into South Australia, through Mount Gambier, down to Robe and through the Coorong, Mount Lofty Ranges, finishing in Adelaide. And it was a stunning ride. At that time we had 6 riders who did the whole way.
It exceeded all expectations. So many Adelaide people got on board, the media got on board, good article in the newspaper, a fantastic benefit evening. And we ended up raising $130,000 and we absolutely were gobsmacked with the response.
The Cycle for Sam idea came out of, you know, Sam's adventure of being in here and having a bedroom that was all done up for him, was thinking about, well, how to create that for other children and what is it that the family would need in order to stay in and be comfortable to stay in with their child.
And so the Sam Roberts Fund created a family care unit in which the children can stay in the hospital and the family can stay along with them.
What it offers now, I think, is a space for parents. They're right next door to their child, so the sliding door opens and they can see their child, and when their child's settled they can pull out the bed and have a snooze. They can make their own tea and coffee, have a friend come to visit and have somewhere private to talk to them. We have an arts therapist, Glenda, who works with us 18 hours a week, and you know, it's making a huge difference to people who are locked in to not being able to talk.
I see that many children are given the opportunity through the art to say things that maybe they don't have the words for. And these are particularly difficult times for anybody, let alone a child who has quite a limited vocabulary often to explore their experiences. So first of all, it gives them that chance to say those things, and I think that watching these children have the opportunity to finally get out some of the stuff that's bottled up inside is just wonderful.
Dad, Mum, Lucy, Sam and me. And that's my dad's bike.
Without the Cycle for Sam, you know, fundraising, without the Sam Roberts Family Fund, we don't have an arts therapy program. There isn't a backup funding for it, and I don't think we'd ever get it.
Cycle for Sam 2 was conceived out of, I guess, Lucy and Charlie expressing a keenness to do it again. And then Michelle, who guides me, I guess, in these sort of areas, she started saying, now, what's going on? Are we going to do another one?
I'm fully supportive of Marty, you know, within reason.
It's been a genuine physical challenge for all riders. We've had 12 that have ridden virtually the full distance, and we've had up to 16 or 17 that have ridden parts or the majority of the ride, and I would say there's not one of them that would say they haven't at some stage felt physically very challenged.
I think one of the things that we've actually been able to do is show that for all that pedal power and all that sponsorship, we actually made a difference.
And what do you think Sam would think about this?
He would be very proud of us. See the photo of him.
We're just so lucky to have so many good people around us, family and friends. You really carried us, you know. We literally do feel like we were carried through this experience, and we've got some wonderful family and friends. Well, not some, we've got lots of wonderful family and friends, and they carried us through it.
I think Sam's with us the whole time, actually. I feel very, blessed that I've got this little man looking after me, and he's shining his star on us.
Have you heard the story of the man who lost at sea? He fought with all his might and courage no man has ever seen. And he made the grown men cry, and he made the girls all weak at the knees. But they don't know where he has gone, only on a clear night he can be seen. Have you heard the story of the man who stole your heart? He stole it right in front of you, but he smiled so you didn't fall apart. And he gave you a wicked grin, and he clapped his hands with glee. But I don't know where he's taken it, only on a clear night he can be seen. Have you heard the story of the house in which he lived? It saw many kings and queens and many gifts they did give. But the biggest gift of all was the strength of his family's tree. But they don't know where he has gone, only on a clear night he can be seen. Have you heard the story of the others in that house? He's got a brother twice as strong and a beautiful sister quite a mouse. And they helped him all day long, and they packed his bags and they set him free. But they don't know where he has gone, only on a clear night he can be seen.